We're continuing our journey through setting up our digital camera, so let's get going. So one of the things that we're going to want to set in terms of setting up this camera is what's the image quality. Now there's some things that we do in our setup that we never change. For example, inputting your name and copyright information. You do that once when you set up the camera and you just leave it, unless you change your name. But in terms of the image quality, you'll initially make a decision about that, but then maybe later on you'd like to change. You'd like a bigger file or a smaller one for any number of purposes, or a different type of file. The little scale we have here shows us JPEGs and RAW files. JPEGs, JPEG, these are files that are processed by the camera. They come out of the camera as complete pictures. All the zeros and ones that were recorded on the sensor are processed into a picture, and that's what you get. You can get JPEGs of varying sizes with most cameras. Even little point and shoots can usually give you options for a larger or a smaller JPEG. And in this case, we've got 6 different options ranging from the largest file size to the smallest. The RAW file, well, the RAW file is the zeros and ones. It's what's recorded by the sensor at the moment of exposure. There's no picture there yet. You've got to use that RAW file external to the camera, usually in a computer or perhaps a tablet with some software, where you process those zeros and ones into a picture. Now, the RAW file is always the largest file size that you can get from the camera. The JPEG is never going to be as large as the RAW, because simply in processing the picture in the camera, you lose information. So, we saw some symbols there for large JPEGs and small JPEGs, and just the word JPEG and the word RAW are kind of strange. Familiarizing yourself with these terms and with these symbols and understanding their meaning is going to be very helpful and important for you in understanding as you make your selections which ones are the right choice for you. When I choose quality on my cameras, generally I'll prefer to shoot 2 files at the same time. Well, I'm not really shooting 2 files at the same time, but I'm going to get 2 files at the same time from one exposure. One's going to be the original RAW file, unprocessed, and then the other is going to be a JPEG processed from that original file without damaging it. So in this case, on my screen, I see quality as RAW plus my largest JPEG. Once you've established the quality of the picture, in other words, the size and the file type, another choice that you'll want to make, that you probably will stick with for a while, but you might change later on as well, is the image aspect ratio. And the higher level camera that you purchase, the more options you're going to have for this image aspect ratio. And here we see a scene that is what we would call widescreen TV, 16 by 9. And that's a commonly available option on a little higher end camera. Next up is what we would call 35mm film format. This is perfect for 5 by 7 inch prints. It's 3 by 2. Camera at the same vantage point, just changing the image aspect ratio now to 4 by 3, and this is the ratio that we normally associate with the 3.5 by 5 inch print. You might have noticed if you bring your photographs in to get processed that part of the picture is eliminated if you're shooting on another aspect ratio and you get 3.5 by 5 inch prints. Well, this can solve that for you if that's your favorite print size. 1 by 1 is, of course, square. And the square format is something that people associate with certain traditional forms of photography. They like its compositional value, and you might too. Finally, 4 by 5, well, this is a very standard old school photography scale, and it's associated with the 8 by 10 print. So if you like making 8 by 10 prints of your pictures, or you like that 8 by 10 traditional format, then you'll want to pick the 4 by 5 aspect ratio.